Oh, hello. I didn't see you there. Welcome to this strange library. Have you noticed where we are? Did you hear that beautiful music? Yes, that's right. Today we are going to be taking a look at the fantastical world of Harry Potter. And to help you with this, I brought my own invisibility cloak so that Mr. Filch doesn't find us. So let's begin, shall we? Let's see what Harry Potter is about. It's a big franchise. We have many things to talk about when we talk about Harry Potter. Let's see. We will see words in action. We then will take a look at the books. Then we will do some watching of some sort. Then we will talk about the franchise itself. Let's go to words in action. What is a novel, you may ask? A novel is a book. So big books, they are called novels. They can also be called books. Grossing means that something is making money. So when you see someone talking about grossing, it means it's making money. Madness, it means craziness. Gender neutral means that something has no gender. It's either female or male. It doesn't matter. Pen name, it's a name that an author, the writer of a book, often chooses for themselves so they don't have to use their real name when they become famous. Acclaim is when you get famous for something, is when people like your work. And to achieve means to reach a goal, to do something of importance. Let's see why all these words are important. Beginning with the books. Harry Potter is a series of British novels. It means it was written in England. It was written by J.K. Rowling. You may have heard that name before. And it's the 10th highest grossing media franchise in the world. It means that in terms of money, it's the 10th to make the most money. It's also the best-selling book series in history with 500 million copies worldwide, which means it's the series of books that sold the most. Harry Potter has many genres. It's books of fantasy. They have a little drama. They also have coming-of-age stories, which is when you have teenagers or kids realizing what life is about. And it's also a type of British school story. What does that mean, you may ask? It's a specific type of British stories, usually with magic, and it happens in school, and it deals with themes of finding oneself and discovering what the world is about. It's a mix of coming of age and fantasy together, and it's specific to British types of stories. J.K. Rowling was rejected 8 times. She went to 8 different studios before being able to finish, to publish the books for Harry Potter. She was also asked to use a gender-neutral pen name because people thought that her real name, Joanne, wasn't gonna appeal to boys. So they asked her to choose a name that people couldn't know if it was a man or a woman. And her first book was released in 1997. They were translated into 80 languages. Yes, Portuguese being one of them. Then, let's talk about the themes. What kind of themes you can find in Harry Potter books? We learn about death. We learn about prejudice. We learn about corruption. And we learn about madness. Rowling wanted a magical world that dealt with real themes. So along the books, we have death, we have characters that are close to the main character who die, prejudice against people with mixed bloodlines. We see that in Hermione. We have corruption by power. This is a very common theme in fantasy books. And we have madness. Usually, power corrupts completely. Did you know, these are some fun facts, that the first book, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, was renamed. They changed the name in the United States to Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone because of fear that Americans would not find the name philosopher interesting enough, even though the name Philosopher's Stone is well known in English literature. The publishers were afraid that kids would not pick up the book because of the name philosopher, so they changed it to sorcerer, which is also a kind of wizard. Yes, Americans change things. Did you also know that the last book, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, was published on the 21st of July 2007, and it sold 100 million copies in the first 24 hours. That is a lot. That is a big deal. And now I ask you, some people think that they are creative enough to write a series of books, that they think it's easy. Well, let's take a look, shall we? It's time to look at her notes. Let's watch a little something. Let's see.
It was 5 years from the train journey where I had the original idea to finishing the book. And during those 5 years, this mass of material was generated, some of which will never find its way into the book, will never need to be in the books. It's just stuff I need to know for my own pleasure, partly from my own pleasure and partly because I like reading a book where I have the sense that the author knows everything. They might not be telling me everything, but you have that confidence that the author really knows everything. Okay, so this is, to the untrained eye, might look like a pile of waste paper, but this is 10 years' work. As you can see, I file meticulously, and I know where every single piece of paper is. I've dragged out a few bits and pieces. So this is the name of everyone in Harry's year. And all these little symbols mean what house they're in, how magical they are, what their parentage is, because I needed this later for the Death Eaters and so on, and the various allegiances that would be set up within the school. I like this. This was 98, and this was me trying to find words for the Dementors. So I have all these Latin words written all over the inside of my diary. I used to cover just about anything with writing, as you can see. This is my application for housing benefit in 28 Gardeners Crescent, which is where the first place I lived, obviously, when I was in Edinburgh. Treated with a complete lack of respect by me. Discarded first chapters of book 1. I reckon I must have got through 15 different alternative chapters of book 1. The reasons for which I discarded each of them were they all gave too much away. And in fact, if you put all those discarded first chapters together, almost the whole plot is explained. This is an old notebook in which I worked out, and again, I don't want you to come too close on this. That is the history of the Death Eaters. Where's my Portuguese diary gone? There it is. So this is a Portuguese diary, as you can see, not filled in.
Portuguese?
Because I've never filled in a diary in my life. But it had paper in it to write on, so we have another draft of book 1, chapter 1. I drew a lot of pictures. I drew them for no one but me. I just wanted to know what the characters looked like. So anyway, that was Argus Filch. No prizes. Snape, obviously. That is Harry arriving in Privet Drive with Professor McGonagall and Hagrid and Dumbledore. That was a Gringotts cart. Mirror of Erised. That's the Weasleys. Professor Sprout. I like this one. I thought I'd lost this picture, actually, because I was going to show it to Chris Columbus. And true to form, I only found it when it was no use, and they'd already filmed that bit anyway. But this is how the entrance to Diagon Alley works in my imagination. So Chris is going to murder me when he finds out I had a blueprint all along, and he was asking me how it worked. But it was buried in books.
Welcome, Harry, to Diagon Alley.
It felt as though I was carving a book out of this mass of notes, and that's in effect what I did. It was a question of condensing and editing and sculpting a book out of this mass of stuff that I had on Harry. And I thought that if it got published, I really thought it's a book for obsessives. It's a book for the kind of people who enjoy every little tiny detail about the world, because I have every little tiny detail about the world.
Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. First-year students will require 1. 3 sets of plain work robes. 2. 1 plain pointed hat, black, for day wear. 3. 1 pair of protective gloves, dragon hide or similar. 4. 1 winter cloak, black, silver fastenings. Set books. The Standard Book of Spells by Miranda Goshawk. A History of Magic by Batilda Bagshot. Magical Theory by Adalbert Waffley. A Beginner's Guide to Transfiguration by Emmerich Switch. 1000 Magical Herbs and Fungi by Philida Spore. Magical Drafts and Potions by Arsenius Jigger. Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them by Newt Scamander. The Dark Forces, A Guide to Self-Protection by Quentin Trimble. Other equipment. 1 wand, 1 cauldron, pewter, standard size 2, 1 set glass or crystal files, 1 telescope, 1 set brass scales. Students may also bring an owl, or a cat, or a toad.
As J.K. Rowling continued to build Harry's world...
Very well. The rest of that is a huge documentary. We will get to that at one point. Moving on, let's talk a little bit about the franchise. After the books came out, the movies helped the franchise achieve pop culture status. That means that they became really famous and a lot of people wanted to know about them. They were also released to universal acclaim, meaning that almost all of the reviews were positive. We then have other media. We have Pottermore, which is a website where you can see where you fit into the Hogwarts houses or learn about your wand and the world of Harry Potter. We have the World of Magic, also known as Wizarding World, which is also a whole franchise of things that J.K. Rowling has created for Harry Potter. So she has, as you can see in the video, she has many notes. She knows what the whole world is about, so she knows every little detail of that world. And we have the prequel movies, like the one above, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. It's a prequel. It happens before the story of Harry Potter. And then we have the stage production or plays that happen in theaters. If I'm not mistaken, the play is called Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, and it tells the story of the son of Harry a few years later. Let's finish up. I have some questions for you, and I will put them in the homework, so if you can answer them to the best of your abilities. Have you ever had the Harry Potter books? When you were a kid, after you were adults, did you ever try to read them? Did you watch the films? Also, do you know what Hogwarts house you fit in? I will put the link in the homework so you can try to find that out for yourself. These and many other questions will be in your homework. Let's review real quick what we saw today. We saw words in action. We talked a little bit about the books. We saw a video with J.K. Rowling. And we talked a little bit about the franchise. Just a few reminders once again. Stay tuned for the instructions from Sahia. Remember to do your homework because it will count as attendance. This is the end of our presentation. I will see you next week for more learning about other kinds of topics. This is Mr. Vítor signing out, and I will see you next time.